Marvel character more famous than Spider-Man? That is the question. Coming in at number 10 is the completely iconic Peter Paraquat. Peter Paraquat, the Spider-Man of Earth 311, is an incredible reimagining of the iconic hero, set in the Elizabethan era of Marvel's 1602 universe. Instead of a modern-day teenager, Peter is an orphaned apprentice to Sir Nicholas Fury and a servant of Queen Elizabeth I, navigating a world of spies, literal witch hunts, and political intrigue. His powers, gained after being bitten by a spider exposed to temporal energies, mirror those of the classic Spider-Man, including wall crawling, superhuman agility, and the famous spider senses. But his journey is shaped by the dangers and limitations of the 17th century. What isn't limited is his wardrobe. The 1602 spider suit is iconic, and it even has that little neck ruffle. 10 out of 10. Familiar Spider-Man themes, responsibility, loss, and heroism are reframed in a world of swords, sorcery, and Shakespearean drama. Peter's story is filled with unique twists. He's trained in espionage, falls in love with Virginia Dare, who was actually a real person by the way, and faces threats like Norman Osborn and Baron Octavius in forms fitting the era. His tragic and heroic end, battling the multiversal predator Morlun in the Globe Theater, underscores the timelessness of Spider-Man's courage and sacrifice, making Peter Paraquat a version that both honors and radically reinvents the legend. They might have fought in Shakespeare's theater, but Shakespeare could have never come up with something like this. Coming in at number 9 is a Spider-Man that we can't technically say the actual name of for fear of demonetization, so let's call him Spider-Merc. Peter Parker of Earth 8351, also known as the Spider-Merc, is a mind-blowing alternate version of Spider-Man because he fundamentally breaks from the classic friendly neighborhood hero archetype. In this universe, Peter's life takes a darker turn after he undergoes intense training with Wolverine, one of Marvel's most ruthless fighters. This mentorship transforms Peter into an eliminator who believes that some threats can only be dealt with through lethal force, a philosophy that couldn't be more different from the traditional Spider-Man's rule if he tried. He abandons Mary Jane for a new partner named Alex and becomes so skilled that he easily defeats top agents like Black Widow. His tactical suit is enhanced with hidden weapons and modified web shooters capable of delivering lethal force, making him an intimidating and unpredictable combatant. The internal conflict between his original ideals and his new, ruthless methods adds a complex, almost tragic layer to his character. Seeing a Spider-Man who is willing to terminate, isolated from his heroic peers and haunted by his choices, would shock anyone familiar with the web-slinger's usual moral compass, making Earth 8351's Peter Parker a true compelling twist on the legend. Number 8. Patton Parnell. Patton Parnell from Earth 51412 is one of the most evil and disgusting alternate versions of Spider-Man in the Marvel multiverse. Unlike the heroic Peter Parker, Patton is a dark, twisted reflection, an introverted, disturbed teenager with a penchant for cruelty and a fascination with experimenting on animals. After being bitten by a genetically altered spider, Patton doesn't become a hero. Instead, he transforms into a monstrous, spider-like creature that preys on others and even consumes his own uncle. What makes Patton Parnell so shocking is how he subverts everything that fans expect from Spider-Man. Instead of using his powers for good, he becomes a predator, embodying the horror of unchecked power and suppressed urges. His story is a chilling reminder of how easily the Spider-Man mythos can be turned on its head, a disturbing and unforgettable take on the iconic web slinger. The part that personally freaks me out the most is that he has the ability to lay eggs in his victims. When he bites, he implants eggs in the victim. It's what he did to his version of MJ, Sarah Jane, and the next morning, hundreds of little spiders spilled out from her neck. And personally, if that happened to me, long walk of a short pier. I'm being so serious, that is nightmare fuel. Number 7, Dr. Aaron Aikman. Dr. Aaron is a remarkable alternate version of Spider-Man from Earth 31411, whose intriguing nature stems from his unique fusion of cutting-edge science and spider-like abilities. A talented biologist specializing in insect and arachnid venoms, Aaron took the extraordinary step of resequencing his own DNA with genetically altered spider genes, granting him superhuman strength, agility, and of course, wall-crawling powers. Unlike Peter Parker, Aaron augmented his natural abilities with a sophisticated cybernetic armor equipped with advanced technology such as an internal helmet computer, web shooters capable of firing various web shapes, catapult propulsion boots, and a retractable neural pulse stinger. This blend of biological enhancement and high-tech gear makes him an innovative Spider-Man who stands out in the multiverse. His story is further enriched by his complex personal life, including his relationship relationship with Dr. Kuroi Ikigami and the tragic circumstances involving her daughter, which add an emotional depth to this heroic journey. Aaron's combination of scientific genius, experimental self-modification, and technological prowess would blow anyone's mind by showcasing a futuristic Spider-Man who is both a brilliant scientist and a high-tech warrior. This next Spider-Man had to go at number 6 for one reason. I guess technically 6 reasons. The 6-armed Spider-Man from Earth 92,100 is a confusing alternate version of Peter Parker that takes the classic hero in roughly 6 new directions. Unlike the familiar Spider-Man, this Peter Parker undergoes a mutation that gives him 4 extra arms, resulting in a total of 6. This transformation dramatically enhances his strength, agility, and web-slinging abilities, making him an even more dangerous force against villains. What makes this version truly fascinating is how it pushes the boundaries of what fans expect from Spider-Man. Imagine the visual spectacle and combat possibilities of a hero who can fight, swing, and strategize with 6 arms. It's a striking twist on the beloved character, challenging our perceptions and opening up a world of storytelling potential that's as thrilling as it is unexpected. At the halfway point is one of my favorite versions of Spider-Man, Petra Parker, the Princess Spider. When you combine a Disney princess with Spider-Man, you get Petra Parker, the Spider-Woman of Earth 423. She's a stunning twist on the classic Spider-Man mythos with her fresh perspective and unique flair. Petra brings a vibrant feminine energy to this hero, combining the iconic spider powers with her own distinct personality and style. Her world is full of a dazzling blend of familiar Spider-Man themes like responsibility and loss and heroism, but it's filtered through a new lens that challenges expectations and redefines what it means to be a web slinger. Her character isn't just a gender swap, she's a fully realized hero whose courage, intelligence, and wit make her a standout among the infinite spider variants. And encountering her story is a mind-blowing reminder of the limitless possibilities within the Marvel Universe. Plus, she wears a really pretty dress, and I just like looking at it. Number 4, you've seen her on the big screen, but the movie came out so long ago that I don't blame you if you forgot. Spider-Bite is a spider that operates in the virtual world. Her domain is completely virtual reality. Margot Kess from Earth 22,191 completely reimagines what it means to be a spider hero. Unlike pretty much any other Peter Parker, Margot is a young woman who takes on the mantle of Spider-Man in virtual reality. Her story stands out not just for her gender swap, but for the way she balances her superhero responsibilities with her own personal challenges and relationships, offering fresh perspectives on familiar Spider-Man themes. Margot's suit, abilities, and the world that she inhabits all reflect a creative twist on the Spider-Man legend, making her an inspiring and exciting character for fans who crave something new. She was featured in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and hopefully we will be seeing her again when the next one comes out in 2027. Number 3, Lady Spider. So what if Aunt May became Spider-Man? Wonder no more, because Earth 803 tackled that idea. Maybelle Riley, also known as Lady Spider, is a very unique twist on the Spider-Man character because instead of Peter becoming Spider-Man, Aunt May does. Maybelle hails from a steampunk-esque universe that is set in 1895, just to, make everything even cooler. A brilliant inventor who crafts her own mechanical spider arms and gadgets, relying on her intellect and engineering prowess rather than radioactive powers. May's Victorian-era sensibilities, combined with her fearless spirit and inventive genius, make her stand out among the Spider-Verse heroes. Lady Spider's ability to hold her own in battles alongside powered counterparts, all while sporting a corseted suit and wielding steam-powered tech, is visually stunning and thematically refreshing. She proves that courage and ingenuity can be just as powerful as superhuman abilities that makes her a truly mind-blowing addition to the Marvel multiverse. And number 2, Sun Spider. Charlotte Weber, also known as Sun Spider from Earth 20,023, is a witty and vibrant hero who uses mobility aids due to EDS, making her one of the few disabled superheroes in the Marvel Universe. Her web cane and crutches double as her signature weapons, turning what you might see as limitations into sources of strength and ingenuity. She shoots webs from her crutches, that's incredible. Charlotte's presence challenges stereotypes and brings much needed representation to superhero comics, showing that heroism can come in many forms. Her quick humor, inventive fighting style, and unapologetic confidence make her a standout among all spider heroes. We do have an honorable mention for this list because it's just so ridiculous and funny and I can't even believe it exists. There is a Spider-Man that prefers to defeat his villains by giving them a pastry. history. The Golden Sponge Cake Spider-Man of Earth 51,914 is a delightfully bizarre and mind-blowing alternate version of Peter Parker who stands out for being just truly whimsical. His adventures are filled with tongue-in-cheek humor, and he uses his powers not just to fight crime, but often to distribute sponge cakes and resolve conflicts in the most absurdly sweet ways imaginable. The Golden Sponge Cake Spider-Man is a testament to Marvel's creativity, showing just how far the multiverse can stretch that Spider-Man IP. And finally, number 1, Web Slinger. A cowboy-themed Spider-Man from a Wild West-inspired universe is the gift that keeps on giving. Patrick O'Hara, the Spider-Man of Earth 31,913, is an iconic alternate version of the Web Slinger. He fuses the classic superhero elements with the wild, untamable spirit of the Old West. Patrick is literally the coolest version of the character that I've come across, a cowboy who swings through the dusty streets of his frontier town using web shooters fashioned from his father's 6-shooters. Like, are you kidding? He's blending gunslinging with web slinging. Like, I don't think it's possible to be any cooler than that. His world is filled with outlaws and supernatural threats rather than supervillains, and he rides a trusty horse named Widow. The web slinger's unique blend of cowboy grit, spider powers, and a code of justice makes him stand out among the Spider-Verse heroes, offering fans a fresh, genre-bending take that's as cool as it is unexpected.
At number 10, the Justice League. Nah, just kidding. At number 10, what if Spidey kept the symbiote suit? Big shout out to Smasher6763 for suggesting this skeletal Peter Parker from Earth 9811. Imagine a reality where the heroes and villains are trapped on Battleworld after the events of Secret Wars and never return to Earth. Instead, they settled down, got hitched, and had families. Amidst all this, Spider-Man still sports the black symbiote costume, never having it removed by Reed Richards. Over time, the symbiote consumed Peter's body, leaving nothing but a skeleton underneath. It's this horrifying revelation that Peter's been deceased for ages and Venom's been pulling the strings. Yet Peter's mind retains a glimmer of consciousness, as his consciousness was absorbed by Venom, making the whole ordeal even eerier. If you're enjoying this video so far, you can support the channel by pressing like, subscribing to Top 10 Nerd, and ringing that notification bell. At number 9 is the Avengers. Thank you, Jack of Clubs 6229, for suggesting this one. In the eerie annals of alternate realities, one of the most chilling versions of the Avengers emerges from the Cancerverse, a nightmarish realm where life has conquered Earth. This gruesome transformation was orchestrated by none other than Sentry, the once celebrated Lord Marvel. In a desperate bid to stave off his terminal cancer, Marvel struck a bargain with the enigmatic Many-Angled Ones. These eldritch entities resided in the intersections of the multiverse and offered him immense power in exchange for annihilating the Grim Reaper itself. Marvel accepted, thus transmuting his universe and consequently his closest allies into grotesque parodies of their parallel selves. The Revengers, as they came to be known, were grotesque and terrifying. Carol Danvers sports a nightmarish visage, to say the very least, while the Hulk is sporting menacing horns, and Thor's beard has been replaced with withering tentacles. Their purpose? To corrupt Earth 616 and spread the influence of the insidious Many-Angled Ones across the multiverse, in a macabre battle that ultimately met its end when Thanos restored the Grim Reaper to the Cancerverse, extinguishing the Revengers' unholy reign. At number 8, Dark Beast, who we've covered before, but many of you in the comments seem to love him, so I thought I'd bring him up again. While regular Beast is known for his intellect and roles in various superhero teams, his dark counterpart takes on a chilling turn in the Age of Apocalypse timeline. In this dystopian world where Xavier's demise leads to Magneto's leadership in Apocalypse's early onslaught, Beast's transformation into a villain is a stark departure from his original self. See, without Xavier's moral compass to guide him, he indulges in unhindered experimentation and loses his compassion entirely. Dark Beast becomes one of Apocalypse's chief scientists, mercilessly torturing and experimenting on both humans and mutants, including Cyclops and Jean Grey. Escaping to Earth 616, he assumes the identity of his counterpart, the 616, Hank McCoy, committing heinous acts, including the unaliving of the childhood friends of his doppelganger. Dark Beast's sinister journey culminates with his alliance with Onslaught, leaving a haunting trail of darkness across alternate dimensions. At number 7 is the zombified Quicksilver. Shout out to Totally Not GRF for pointing out that the Marvel Zombies universe is terrifying once you realize that the entirety of Earth got affected with the virus in a single day because of a zombified Quicksilver. That's right, sent back to Earth to confront the zombie menace, Pietro encounters what seems to be Scarlet Witch, only to discover that it's the devious zombie Mystique in disguise. In a harrowing turn of events, Pietro is bitten on the neck neck, succumbing to infection. But here's the real nightmare. With his incredible speed, zombified Quicksilver becomes a global vector, spreading the contagion far and wide, making containment impossible. It seems even our mightiest heroes can become harbingers of doom in alternate realities. At number 6, Earth 666. Earth 666's Avengers of the Undead. Thank you to Sir Striker 6420. In Earth 666, the Avengers aren't your typical superheroes. They're the stuff of nightmares. Picture this. Black Widow is an actual Black Widow. Captain America is not just superhuman, but a ferocious werewolf leading the charge. Daredevil is now a demonic force to be reckoned with, serving justice with a sinister twist. Frankencastle is very clever. A Frankenstein's monster version of the Punisher, Frank Castle, embracing the macabre. Hawkeye, more like Hawk's Eye, an avian sharpshooter taking aim with razor-sharp precision. Thor, once the god of thunder, is now a mummified deity wielding ancient powers. Spider-Man is literally a Spider-Man human hybrid. I mean, it speaks for itself. And who could forget Wolverine, the lord of the vampires, sticking his fangs into his victims with relish. In Earth 666, the Avengers are a terrifying ensemble, defending a world where the living dare not tread, battling for survival in the shadows of the undead. At number 5 is the Void, the opposite alternate of Sentry. Shout out to Zack Schneider 5337 for this suggestion. Void, a malevolent force lurking within the psyche of Robert Reynolds, the Sentry. This dark entity, more of a cosmic concept than a person, embodies his deepest, darkest fears and desires. The Void is the yin to Sentry's yang, a relentless force that threatens to consume not just Earth, but the entire multiverse. It's a chilling alternate superhero where the line between hero and villain blurs as the Sentry battles to keep his inner demon at bay. In this eerie twist on the Avengers, the team's greatest adversary isn't an external threat, but a part of themselves, a haunting reminder of the line between heroism and destruction. At number 4 is X-24 from Logan. Shout out to Brilliant Thardy Games 127. In the dark, twisted multiverse of comic book adaptations, we've seen our fair share of alternate versions of beloved characters, but none quite as spine-chilling as X-24. In the film Logan, this sinister creation was engineered to be the ultimate unaliving machine, a nightmarish image of Wolverine himself. Unlike the brooding and complex Logan we know, X-24 was a ruthless berserker devoid of any moral compass. He wasn't plagued by inner demons or a sense of duty. He was a pure force of destruction. What made him even more terrifying was his relentless pursuit of Laura, or X-23, who shared Wolverine's blood. Every time X-24 appeared on screen, a wave of anxiety washed over me, knowing that this unrelenting monster would stop at nothing to achieve its grisly objectives. It's a chilling reminder of how alternate versions can take familiar heroes and twist them into our darkest nightmares. At number 3 is Poison. Thank you to Chronos200 for this suggestion. In this alternate version of Spider-Man the Other, Spider-Man's transformation takes a nightmarish turn under the Brooklyn Bridge. You see, instead of embracing his spider powers, he violently rejects them, decapitating his inner spider and leaving his metamorphosis incomplete. As if sensing the chaos, the Venom symbiote abandons MacGarren to merge with Peter Parker. A mental battle rages on, with the symbiote ultimately obliterating what remains of Peter's psyche. Stark Tower now becomes a battleground as the symbiote-possessed Peter, now Poison, confronts Aunt May and Mary Jane. Poison's deluded belief in his creation as an act of love drives him to offer Mary Jane a horrifying choice: to bond with the new symbiote spawn. Wolverine and Luke Cage try to stop him, but Poison's power proves overwhelming. The chilling climax reveals the extent of madness as he revives Gwen Stacy with the symbiote, transforming her into a Carnage-like monstrosity. In this unnerving alternate reality, Spider-Man is unrecognizable and fear lurks just around every corner. At number 2, Norman Osborn's Dark Avengers. Shout out to Damon Blackfriar 3238. You guys gotta make some better usernames, holy cow. In the wake of the Skrull invasion, Osborn ascended to power, wielding authority over S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Thunderbolts, bending them to his will. Under his Hammer agency, Osborn recruited a macabre roster of quote-unquote heroes. Among them, Bullseye is masqueraded as Hawkeye, Venom as Spider-Man, and Moonstone as Miss Marvel. Ares and Sentry lingered, tainted by their association with Osborn. Miss Marvel wisely refused to join the team, aware of Osborn's malevolent past. But Osborn's recruit of baddies didn't stop there. Daken assumed the mantle of Wolverine, while Novar became Captain Marvel. Osborn himself donned the Iron Patriot suit, a twisted embodiment of patriotism. At number 1, Spider Assassin. Shout out to LilDo9796 for bringing this one up. Spider Assassin is a version of our friendly neighborhood hero who's taken a dark turn. It all starts with a trip to Germany, a tragic loss, and a secret romance. You see, as Spider-Man teams up with Wolverine to take down Charlemagne, the stakes rise and morality blurs. The turning point in this reality comes when he chooses to save Charlemagne's sister, Alex, and spirals into a life of espionage and assassination. Now, what truly sets this Spider-Man apart is his enhanced spider sense. With training from Nebo, he transforms it into a weapon for seeing attacks before they're even conceived in the first place. It's an uncanny ability that makes him a formidable force, even modifying his web shooters to fire lethal bullets. Yet as he descends into darkness, this Spider-Man becomes an embodiment of moral ambiguity, losing his identity as the friendly neighborhood hero. And as such, he remains in Europe, accepting sinister assassination jobs, leaving us to ponder the full consequence of a spider sense weaponized to its full potential.
Coming in at number 10 today, it's Hulk Hogan. It's Hulkamania, brother! First appearing in Iron Man number 227 in his prime of October 1987, Hulk Hogan witnessed Iron Man defeating Beetle, who tried to steal a Picasso painting from a celebrity charity auction. This moment for Hogan really only lasted about one page, and all he did was go, "Body slam! Use a body slam!" And he didn't even say brother, so like that doesn't really count. But sometime later, in Marvel Comics Presents number 45 from March of 1990, Hogan Bogan takes on the Grey Hulk in his Mr. Fix-It persona when they wrestled for the rights to use the Hulk name. Hogan may just be a man, but he seems to be able to take a beating from Fix-It and even dish out a few hits of his own before Fix-It sends him and his amazing handlebar mustache flying out of the arena and landing miles and miles away into someone's living room. And that's one hell of a defeat, brother. Man, there was too much energy for that. I gotta slow down. Okay. And we're gonna become calm now. Here we go. Coming in at number 9 today is Maestro. The Incredible Hulk has certainly been through the ringer in his decorated career, but few versions of the character are the living embodiment of that fact like the Maestro is. An alternative version of Bruce Banner from an apocalyptic future, this version of the character is far more intense and complex than his Earth 616 counterpart. The best way to describe Maestro is to say that he is basically a smarter, older, villainous version of Dr. Bruce Banner, with all the powers and abilities of the original, but with a touch more nuclear radiation due to the conflict that created the dystopian wasteland he comes from. He has much more of a cosmic and spiritual side than the normal Hulk does, but he is also twice as strong as Hulk is, and he retains all the intelligence of Bruce Banner, but with years and years more experience and basically no morals. Despite all that extra strength, brain power, and experience though, he still gets outmaneuvered by the Hulk, who sends Maestro back in time to the site of the gamma bomb that created him. But even then, the Maestro's spirit remained on the bones left behind after the gamma explosion went off and he returned. This bearded green behemoth has been a fan favorite character since his introduction in the Future Imperfect storyline, and his backstory, fighting the Human Torch, Dr. Doom, Namor the Submariner, and Abomination, among others, is pretty intense and a really fun read. Number 8. Aborigine Hulk. Have you ever heard of the House of M? I would assume that you have. It's when Wanda Maximoff changed reality to make the mutant Magneto the ruler of the world with his family. Well, in this world, when Bruce Banner transformed into the Hulk after the gamma explosion, it is believed by Mr. Ross that he is a spy of Magneto and he is hunted down like normal. But not like normal, he travels all the way to Australia and he settles in with a group of Aborigine where he becomes a part of their tribe and finds an inner peace with Banner and the other guy. But of course, the conflict between the mutants and the last remaining resisting humans finds its way to the outback and onto the territory of this Aborigine tribe. With a kind of control over the Hulk persona, Hulk and Banner help the humans halt their persecution by their mutant overlords, eventually helping AIM to rule Australia. There's this really cool moment where the Hulk is using a whale to cover a submarine, and it looks super amazing, and it's actually kinda smart. Number 7. The MCU Hulk. While the Hulk in the MCU, played wonderfully by Mark Ruffalo, is initially depicted as more impulsive and primal, as the MCU progresses, a more intelligent side of the Hulk emerges. The Hulk's intelligence evolves over time, ranging from childlike simplicity to a level of reasoning that eventually equals Banner's genius. In Avengers Age of Ultron, the Hulk displays a connection with Natasha Romanoff that showcases a depth of emotion and complexity, but he still retains his childlike intelligence. By Avengers Endgame, game, however, his intelligence is far more evident as the Hulk merges his bronze with Banner's brains, becoming a merged entity known as Smart Hulk. This version has Banner's intellect, the Hulk's physical might, and a more balanced emotional state, and it is essentially a version of the Hulk that is copied straight from Earth 616's own Incredible Hulk. This portrayal adds layers to the Hulk's character, demonstrating that his intelligence isn't just a result of Banner's consciousness, but an amalgamation of both personas. And it also allows Mark Ruffalo to be his awkward, normal self, but green and big, which is always fun. Number 6. Amadeus Cho. Now, unlike almost every other Hulk here, Amadeus Cho is not from an alternate universe to the main 616 Incredible Bruce Banner Hulk. By 15, Amadeus Cho was the 7th smartest person on the planet, with a mind that functioned like a hypercomputer, but that also put a target on his back and led him to become friends with another genius, a guy you may know called Bruce Banner. Cho first popped up on the scene back in 2005, but it wasn't until 10 years later in 2015 when the Hulk got stuck with a dangerous amount of a new type of radiation that Amadeus took on a different form. Using special nanites, Amadeus absorbed the Hulk's powers, becoming a gamma-powered monster and the totally awesome Hulk. But unlike Bruce, Amadeus found himself having much more control over his Hulk persona, and prided himself on being a better and smarter Hulk. Unfortunately, over time that wouldn't completely last, especially when he exiled himself to find control and ended up on Sakaar. When he finally came back to Earth and declared war on his enemies, he had to be stopped by his allies, and in doing so, they injected him with nanites that countered the ones he himself had placed inside of himself. Amadeus didn't lose his Hulk powers, instead he retained just a portion of the power and his darker side, and now goes by the superhero name Brawn. Number 5. Old Man Hulk. Probably the most disturbing version of Hulk I've ever seen would have to be Pappy Banner in the Old Man Logan story by Mark Millar. After the villains took over the world, it is believed that Banner and the Hulk received extra doses of radiation from the atomic devices used in California, which caused Bruce to become just a little bit unhinged. Hulk procreated with Jennifer Walters, his first cousin, creating kids who also had children, and together they all formed the Hulk Gang that viciously rule over Hulkland, which is primarily the whole of the west coast of the USA. Running that kind of an operation takes some intelligence. Now, before you all tell me he didn't do this with Jennifer Walters, like last time I said that, here is the comic panel of him saying that. Okay, now that that's out of the way, this version of Bruce actually has the strength of the Hulk when still in his Bruce Banner form, which is really interesting and also shows that he is still intelligent while being super strong. But when angry enough, Bruce will transform into a massive, almost 30-foot tall Hulk, who still had the same intelligence and was able to eat Old Man Logan whole. Before Logan regenerates and tears himself out from the inside, but he still manages to survive with his head being attached to a robotic body, which is also super cool. Number 4. She-Hulk. The lawyer Jennifer Walters is Bruce Banner's first cousin and probably the closest thing he has to a sibling. It just so happened that as Bruce was seeking some legal aid from Jennifer, she was nearly sent to the afterlife during an assassination attempt, and it's kinda crazy how much that seems to happen in comic books. Well, Bruce saved her life by giving her an emergency blood transfusion, but as a result, she became the She-Hulk. Although she started out as a bit of a savage She-Hulk, when she appeared in issue 1 of her comic in 1980, Jen's normal personality eventually became dominant when she was in her gamma-powered form, giving her access to her intelligence as an incredibly skilled and successful lawyer. In fact, she actually prefers being She-Hulk even in her day-to-day activities, and she puts her skills to use as an Avenger and member of the Fantastic Four. Number 3. Hulk 2099. This version of the Hulk, appearing in the awesome possible future of 2099, where Spider-Man 2099 makes his home, is a guy named John Eisenhart. He was a corporate lawyer for big movie studios who went to go and coerce a group called the Knights of Banner, who were a cult-like group of warriors who followed the ideologies of Bruce Banner. John was going to gain the rights for their name in order to make a movie about them, all while giving them nothing in return. He turns them into this corporation called Sweet Dreams, thinking they'll be brought in peacefully, but it doesn't really go that way. The only Knight of Banner who survives, a kid, goes to a gamma machine, but John saves the kid, pushing him out of the way and being blasted with gamma radiation. John can now turn into the Hulk whenever he wants, he has a super strong prehensile tongue, and he is much more beast-like with massive claws, but He is just as powerful as regular Hulk, but unlike the regular Savage Hulk, John retains his intelligence. That intelligence may not be Bruce Banner levels, but John is a skilled attorney, and that makes him more intelligent than the childlike Green Goliath that we are used to. Number 2. Tyrone Cash. Professor Leonard Williams, aka Tyrone Cash, was originally a brilliant British scientist working at Cambridge University. He was working on a version of the super soldier serum when Bruce Banner joined his team. Like Banner, Williams hated his own body, and like Banner, Williams had his own agenda for wanting to perfect the process. Once the serum was completed, Williams took it and went from Banner's mentor to his predecessor as the Hulk. He took out several people and escaped from the university and has been on the run ever since. He abandoned his old life, allowing everyone to believe he was actually deceased, using his incredible intellect to evade capture for like 16 years. Williams adopted the name Tyrone Cash and became a ruthless gangster, taking out and pillaging the property and wealth of gang leaders and criminals throughout Africa and Asia in the Ultimate Universe. And finally, in at number 1 today, it's Monk. Of all the alternate Hulks we've got here, none are quite like Monk. Monk comes from a little alternate universe story called 5 Ronin, which sees feudal Japanese versions of Wolverine, Punisher, Psylocke, Deadpool, and of course, the Hulk. What's interesting here is that none of these characters seem to have the superpowers that make them superheroes in the regular 616 universe, or if they do, their powers are extremely subtle and low-key. And an excellent example of that is the Hulk/Monk. From reading Hulk's issue of the 5-issue story, we can gather that Monk used to be a ferocious samurai back in his day. Monk is a massive man, and he wielded a massive sword. But in his warrior rages, he would do some pretty unspeakable things, and because of the last one to happen, he swore himself off of the warrior life and instead decided to set his roots on the top of a mountain in a sort of sanctuary, just trying to find inner peace. Even when the nearby villagers came to the former samurai for help against some bandits, he refused until he was visited by a Ronin with a mouth who convinced him to use his rage one last time.
Number 10 is President Loki. President Loki, originating from Vote Loki comic series, showcases a cunning, mischievous portrayal of the god of lies during the 2016 presidential election satire. This story delves into Loki's fray into politics as he challenges for the highest office. The narrative follows the Daily Bugle reporter Nyssa Contreras as she attempts to dissuade voters from supporting this mysterious candidate. However, the twist comes when Loki reveals that his entire eccentric campaign was orchestrated to elevate Nyssa's career, intending to expose governmental corruption. Astonishingly, he deliberately loses the election, showcasing an unexpected altruistic side while simultaneously feeding his own ego, of course. The Vote Loki series cleverly unveils the intricate interplay between truth and deception in politics. At number 9 is Loki as the God of Thunder. This next entry is a 2-for-1 special. We've got 2 different Lokis who are able to wield Mjolnir. First up, we've got this Loki with Thor's powers. This version stands out because it was created by the Impossible Man and eventually got destroyed by Galactus. Even though this Loki had powers akin to Thor's, they weren't as strong. But surprise, surprise, during the 2017 Infinity event in the comics, this character made a comeback, and this time around, he was even more formidable. The Loki from Earth TRN-707 is one of the mightiest versions out there. What makes this Loki stand out is not only that he's wielding Mjolnir, but he's also possessing all 6 Infinity Stones. This particular Loki made an appearance in an alternate reality during the Infinity Wars comic event in 2017. Unfortunately, his stint was short-lived as he was taken down by Requiem, who not only defeated him, but also nabbed all those stones. If you're enjoying this video so far, please support the channel by pressing like, subscribing to Top 10 Nerd, and ringing the notification bell. It really helps us out, and it's free. At number 8 is Earth X. In Earth 9997, the Asgardians, who are initially perceived as gods, are revealed to actually be mutants created by the Celestials. Mind-locked by Celestials to believe in immortality, Loki discerns this truth, confronting Odin, who dismisses him. Determined, Loki sacrifices himself to enter Hela's realm, plotting to resist the impending Celestial invasion. Unaffected by the Celestials' illusion of non-existence, Loki retains his knowledge. Odin dispatches Thor to thwart Loki, but Loki sways Thor to his side. Exploiting the Asgardians' power to shapeshift based on strong perceptions, Loki assumes Thor's guise, wielding a version of Mjolnir. He then forms his own Avengers team, seizing immense power. At number 7 is the Sorcerer Supreme Loki. This Loki, who's notorious for his trickery, as all Lokis are, once surprised everyone by becoming the Sorcerer Supreme. Now this title, usually reserved for exceptional beings, was taken from Doctor Strange after Loki won consecutive tournaments despite never actually participating. The Vishanti, the mystical entities overseeing such matters, recognized Loki's vast magical prowess and character growth and deemed him worthy of the title. As the Sorcerer Supreme, Loki gained immense powers and privileges, augmenting his already formidable magical abilities. Inheriting this title added to his arsenal, elevating him to a level where few in the universe could rival his magical prowess. This newfound capabilities, combined with his authority, made him an almost unstoppable force, cementing his status among the most potent magic wielders in existence. At number 6 is Kid Loki. Is a variant version born from a tumultuous past to emerge after a series of events in the Marvel Universe. You see, initially, he was reborn after Thor manipulated Hela to remove his name from the Book of Hell. This reset Loki into a child form without memories of his previous life. Despite Thor's efforts to reintegrate him into Asgard, Kid Loki faced rejection from his guardians, who held him as responsible for his past misdeeds. Struggling with his past spirit, Loki distanced himself, creating Ikal, his opposite. Although he sought redemption, his mischievous nature persisted, often tricking others. In a tragic turn, Loki's attempts to protect Asgard during the Galactus' invasion were misinterpreted by Thor, leading to various emotional wounds. This Loki, while possessing standard powers similar to the original, remained remarkably weaker due to obviously his youth and untapped potential. The MCU iteration contrasts the comic version significantly, causing a Nexus event by eliminating Thor in his youth. This variant's existence in the void grants him immense power, ruling over variants and wielding the artifacts like the Leviathan. At number 5 is Dark Reign Loki. This Loki displayed extreme powers in a particular version. In this narrative, Loki's manipulation skills reached new heights, seizing Asgard's throne and dealing blows to both enemies and allies. Norman Osborn's influence is pivotal here, who enabled his ascent to power within S.H.I.E.L.D., transforming it into Hammer. Now teaming up with Dr. Doom, Emma Frost, Namor, and the Hood, this Loki formed the Cabal. With their aid and Hammer's backing, he claimed Asgard's throne by eliminating Bor, Odin's father. Despite aligning with Osborn, his true loyalty wasn't to him, recognizing Osborn's danger. And disguised as the Scarlet Witch, this Loki severed ties with Cabal by manipulating the Avengers to oust Osborn. This version showcased unparalleled strategic cunning and a willingness to outmaneuver even formidable allies for personal gain. At number 4 is Lady Loki. A multifaceted character, embodies various personas across different timelines of realities within Marvel Comics. Her emergence in Thor Volume 3 number 5 in 2008 marked her inception, following the demise of the original Loki during Ragnarok. Now, this version of Loki, housed within Lady Sif's body, retains the mischief and complexity characteristics of the god of mischief, sometimes embracing altruism while occasionally indulging in evil inclination. Additionally, Lady Loki, as depicted in the Arcadia timeline, which is Earth 16191 for those who are interested, because here she assumes a maternal role for America Chavez and Nico Minoru in A-Force, a team safeguarding Arcadia against external threats. However, Loki's betrayal unfolds as she opens portals to the Sentinel territories, a perilous domain where superhumans are held captive. At number 3 is King Loki, aka Loki the All-Butcher. King Loki stands out as one of the strongest and darkest variations of Loki we've ever seen. This version packs in abilities like necromancy, time travel, along with shapeshifting and his usual powers. Imagine Loki, but more evil and more powerful. What sets King Loki apart is his contentious loop of evil behavior. He becomes his younger self's enemy, aiming to sway him back to darkness, all to ensure his future role in destroying Earth and wiping out humanity. Now, to make this happen, King Loki manipulates events, even corrupting a young Thor along the way. Now, Earth 616 Loki opts to rewrite his destiny. Instead of being the god of lies, as King Loki wants, he decides to be the god of stories. There's a showdown where the younger Loki forgives King Loki, but that doesn't stop the latter's pursuit of power. Loki the All-Butcher then emerges, wielding immense strength after bonding with the All-Black, the Necrosword. He goes on a rampage, obliterating Asgard and the sun itself. But in a dramatic turn, Loki sacrifices himself to restore balance, helping Thor defeat Gore and revive the sun. At number 2 is the God of Stories. Loki, in one of his alternate versions, managed to tap into something extraordinary called the house of ideas. Think of it as a hub of imagination, the place where all stories, thoughts, and creativity originate. This gave Loki immense powers, earning him the title of the God of Stories. Now what's fascinating is that this house of ideas is linked to the one above all, granting Loki the ability to manipulate reality as he desires. Using this power, Loki reshaped his identity, portraying himself as a god, rewriting history to cast himself in a positive light. He even altered the narrative to prove he wasn't the villain everyone thought, making himself basically worthy of wielding Mjolnir. Basically, he could make almost anything he wanted to be true to become an actual reality. At number 1 is Loki Odinson. On Earth 6160, also known as the Ultimates universe, this is the reality where Loki diverges from the conventional portrayal, being Odin's biological son alongside his brothers Thor and Balder. Initially not a frost giant, this version of Loki is entangled in a complex web of envy and anger towards the Asgardian. Empowered by Norn stones stolen from the Carnilla, a prominent Asgardian sorceress, Ultimate Loki wields an arsenal of abilities. His repertoire includes reality manipulation, spatial and temporal control, teleportation, and illusion summoning, all harmonized with his Asgardian physiology. Despite familial ties, Loki harbors animosity, manipulating reality to rewrite history. His actions led to the demise of Balder and the subsequent banishment by Odin. Escaping exile multiple times, Loki repeatedly clashes with Thor and the Ultimates, aiming to destroy them. His endeavors result in demise, resurrection, and relentless battles, cementing his status as a force to be reckoned with in the alternate realm of Earth 6160.
Number 10. Codex. Step into the thrilling reality of Earth 1051, where Dylan's dark side is unleashed, transforming him into the formidable villain known as Codex, a force to be reckoned with. In this reality, Anne Wang becomes Venom instead of Eddie Brock after Peter Parker rejects the symbiote. As time goes on, Venom takes on an armor-like appearance and changes their name to Agent Venom. With the Venom symbiote, Anne ends up giving birth to a child, a half-human, half-symbiote boy named Dylan. However, in this reality, Dylan doesn't become the hero that we know him to be, but instead a villain after falling under the influence of the powerful symbiote god, Null. Under the name of Codex, he seeks to conquer the world, and Anne, as Agent Venom, is one of the heroes who rises up to stop him. But despite their best efforts, Codex proves to be an insurmountable foe, and the fight to save the world becomes an epic battle of good versus evil. And friends, before we move on to our next point on this list, if you love what we do here at Top 10 Nerd, be sure to show us you love us by clicking that like. Number 9. Zombie Carnage. Elsa Bloodstone ends up running into the zombified version of Carnage, or what's left of it, in Volume 2 of Marvel Zombies, issue number 2 from 2015. Her and the kid she is traveling with, whom she calls Shut Up, no seriously, that's what she calls them, ends up in a trap Carnage has laid out that Elsa referred to as its scab web. Yes, it is as gross as it sounds. This version of the villain has been reduced to just the upper torso and appears to be covered in little blood blisters. It finds itself defeated after its head is removed from its body and used as a projectile by Elsa, and its body, or its scab web, is unleashed but subsequently is set on fire by a man who appears to be Ranger Warren Worthington but is actually a zombie Mystique in disguise. Dun dun dun. While this version of Carnage is defeated here, who knows how many before Elsa arrived had fallen prey to it. Also, I love how it kind of takes like another zombie to take out another zombie, you know what I mean? Number 8. What if the alien costume had possessed Spider-Man? In What If issue number 4, we find out the answer to this question. Here, Peter didn't realize until it was too late what his black suit truly was. No longer able to seemingly separate from Venom, Peter remains stuck with the symbiote. Although he attempts to get help, Venom uses its camouflage powers to make them impossible to find, also taking control of Peter whenever he attempts to contact Black Cat to actually get help. When Venom does end up in a battle with the other heroes, the symbiote jumps ship to Hulk, making it now one of the most powerful symbiotes there is, and leaving Peter drained of life energy. Appearing as a frail old man, Peter would soon pass away, dying of old age once he was abandoned. In another confrontation, Venom once more leaves Hulk for Thor, attempting to bond with him permanently. Even worse, it would take Black Cat's strong convictions and powerful weapon to defeat this alternate version of Venom. Number 7. Venom. One of the alternate alternate versions of Venom is actually also a version of Gwen Stacy. This version of the character hails from the Earth 65 reality, Spider-Gwen's home reality. Here for a time, Gwen Stacy, often known as Spider-Woman, Spider-Gwen, or currently Ghost Spider, bonded with the Venom symbiote. In this reality, the Venom symbiote was created in a lab by Dr. Elsa Brock. It was used to return Gwen's spider-like powers to her through bonding with her. This version of the symbiote is seemingly made up of jelly-like little spiders which can come together and even shapeshift. However, this version of Venom was created based on basically alien spiders. Initially, Gwen attempted to resist the offer to bond with the Venom symbiote because it was offered to her by her enemy, Matt Murdock, who in this reality is a bad guy. I know we're used to Matt Murdock being a good guy, being Daredevil and all that stuff, but here, not his deal. Number 6, Aunt May. I bet you would never think of Aunt May when it comes to a strongest symbiotes list, but hey, here we are. This version of Aunt May is basically a monster, being an alternate version of the character from Earth 616, but also an alternate of technically another alternate, Aunt May Spider-Man. When encountering this alternate version of herself, Spider-Man, Earth 3123's Aunt May, and Miles Morales of the Ultimate Universe 1610 must team up to take on this alternate Aunt May version of Carnage. Carnage May and her Earth's Peter and Uncle Ben work together trying to basically take out their other counterparts across the multiverse, as they believe the existence of the multiverse proves that nothing really matters. That's how they see it anyways. They are a force of chaos and death, and this version of Carnage is so deadly that she actually proves to be too much for Miles and Spider-Man alone. Number 5, Edward Sachs. Edward Sachs is a little bit higher up because of just how terrifyingly massive and evil he is. This version of Venom has taken up a job in politics and appears in the Spider-Man Reign story as the aide to the mayor of New York, who here is Mayor Waters. He hails from Earth 70237. Edward Sachs, as he is referred to, though, appears to actually be the one who is pulling the mayor's strings, and seems to have more control than most aides over what goes on in the city of New York. He has also been working to bring back the Sinister Six. Oh boy. He also made thousands of copies of the Venom symbiote and is responsible for Web, a security group responsible for preventing anyone from leaving the city. It's a very dystopian, dark reality, Spider-Man Reign. So if you want to be a little bit depressed, go check that out. Number 4, Ultimate Venom. There are a couple different versions of Ultimate Venom on the Earth of 1610, the Conrad Marcus version and the Eddie Brock Jr. version. This alternate version of the Venom symbiote was created to be a cure for cancer, as opposed to being an alien entity from outer space, and as such, its healing and regenerative properties supersede even the Earth 616 version. Like in the Tom Hardy Venomverse, however, this suit can only bond with specific people, and if it isn't compatible with you, it'll kill you. This gigantic powerhouse of a symbiote has been shown to be stronger than both Miles Morales and Peter Parker of Earth 616 combined. Number 3, Grendel Symbiote. While this is still technically Cletus Cassidy as Carnage from Earth 616, some may consider the Grendel symbiote to be a different version of Carnage altogether, since the Carnage symbiote itself at this point in the story is kinda dead and gone. And honestly, so is Cletus. He's basically a corpse that was revived and then kinda stuffed inside a symbiote. He still has a consciousness and everything, but I'm not sure if we'd quite call him alive here. This version of Carnage is probably one of the most horrifying when you consider its purpose. The Grendel symbiote takes the place of Carnage and is used by Cletus to basically hunt down all the codices on Earth, which exist inside former hosts of symbiote spines. I think you can imagine how that kind of goes when you need to get those codices. Acquiring the codices bolstered his own power and ultimately allowed him to achieve his main goal of waking up the god of the symbiotes. No. Number 2, God of Carnage, or the Carnage God, or God of Carnage is kind of like the story involving this character. God of Carnage technically hails from Earth 616 as well, but honestly extends beyond that in terms of how far the entity's reaches, I would say. It is an offshoot of Carnage, but basically answers the question of what happens when Carnage decides to ditch Cletus Cassidy. Honestly, the God of Carnage, or the Carnage God, while technically an incarnation of Carnage, is like the Grendel symbiote version, so far removed from the original version of this symbiote that it's even hard to really consider them one and the same being, save for appearance and I suppose their shared kinda chaotic alignment. The Carnage God wields the All Blood, his own God Butcher weapon, an alternate version of the All Black Necrosword. This alternate version of Carnage is also very different in the fact that it doesn't have a host. At this point, seeing hosts as a distraction from its own purpose and plans, who were basically previously holding Carnage back, so they don't mess with hosts no more. Number 1. Carnage Cosmic. There was a time when Carnage actually ended up going cosmic in terms of his power source and level. The Carnage symbiote at one point jumped ship to Norrin Radd, one of the Heralds of Galactus. While in the main continuity the bond between them did not last, there is a what if comic that imagines what could have happened had the bond between them remained. In the end, in this alternate reality, in order to prevent Carnage from having too much power and control over him, the Silver Surfer regains control for long enough just to hurl himself, along with Carnage, into the sun. However, apparently that wasn't actually the end, as somehow the two survived this, reappearing again in the 2013 comic Longshot Saves the Marvel Universe issue number 3, probably honestly thanks to the Silver Surfer's powers, not necessarily the powers of Carnage, since the symbiote is like very susceptible to fire damage. So you think going to the sun, you think that'd be it, but apparently not.
And at 10, Ian Rogers. When Steve Rogers got trapped in Dimension Z, he rescued a baby boy while he was trapped there. Since time moves faster in Dimension Z, he ended up raising that boy for over 10 years. Sharon Carter ended up raising him for the remainder of his childhood when she got trapped in Dimension Z after going there to rescue Steve, but the boy was the son of Armin Zola, but saw Steve Rogers and Sharon Carter as his parents. His birth name was Leopold Zola, but he goes by Ian Rogers, the true name that his father gave him. By the time he left Dimension Z, he was a full-grown adult. Then he took on the name Nomad and partnered with Sam Rogers, but he does at one point become Captain America as well, I think. And even if he doesn't, he's basically gay. He's like Cap's adoptive son, so you know what? It's like Patriot adjacent. And at 9, Super Soldier. Super Soldier is fairly evidently, well I say evidently, but I guess you wouldn't really know that, it's actually a combination of Clark Kent and Steve Rogers. First being introduced in Marvel vs. DC number 3 from 1996, during World War II, government scientists were working on a super soldier formula that would transform a man into much more, into some sort of human weapon using cellular samples of an alien corpse. Clark Kent volunteers for the super soldier program and they administer the formula, as well as a good chunk of solar radiation. This mixture gave Clark Kent incredible abilities, including all those of Captain America and Superman. Super strength, heat vision, flight. Now known as Super Soldier, Kent wields the Superman logo as his shield. In March of 1942, Super Soldier fought Ultra Metallo, a robot sent by Lex Luthor to aid Germany in winning the war by killing Clark, but the fight started in Washington, D.C. and ended above the northern Atlantic Ocean, when Clark sacrificed himself to take down the robot, sinking them both into the icy depths. Jimmy Olsen was one of the few witnesses of this event, and instead reported that Super Soldier had retired after America had declared that the war was won. 50 years later, the body was thought out in JLA number 4, that stands for Judgment League Avengers, and Clark joined the Judgment League Avengers as its leader. And at 8, Zombie Cap. Colonel America's life before the onslaught of the zombie plague of Earth 2149 remains largely undisclosed, but it is reasonable to assume that it paralleled the experience of Captain America from 616. Aside from the evident difference in rank, the only other deviation from 616 is that Colonel America assumed the role of President of the United States, akin to his ultimate counterpart. Although his presidency was cut short before completing a full term, tragically he succumbed to the zombie infection and became part of the Zombie Galacti, only to meet a gruesome fate when his brains were violently extracted by Red Skull. Here's a fun fact: such a high percentage of US presidents have been assassinated that it is considered the deadliest job in the world. Yep, Cap isn't changing that. However, his story took an unexpected turn as he found himself transplanted into the body of T'Challa, the son of Black Panther. The circumstances surrounding this transformation and the ensuing consequences for Colonel America in his new form are yet to be fully revealed, but yeah, that's a whole load of crazy. Gotta love zombies. And at 7, Soldier Supreme. After acquiring the Infinity Stones, Gamora harnessed their power to trap the souls of the universe within the Soul Gem. To further subdue the inhabitants, she folded the universe in half, causing every soul to merge with another and giving rise ties to the Warp World, a pocket dimension where history was rewritten and adapted to accommodate the fused beings. Basically, like the Marvel vs. DC, but just with Marvel characters. Within Warp World, Doctor Strange and Captain America were combined, forming the enigmatic Soldier Supreme. In this altered reality, during the height of World War II, the meek Stephen Rogers volunteered for an experimental procedure to become a super soldier in the US Army, but unbeknownst to him, the scientist Morgan Erskine, who presented herself as the creator of the super soldier serum, actually employed a mystical ritual that granted Stephen enhanced physical abilities and access to potent sorcery. Following Erskine's ultimate demise at the hands of spies from the opposition, because you can't say that word, can't say the NA word, her true nature was discovered. Although disheartened by her methods, the military saw promise in Stephen's transformation and he assumed the mantle of Soldier Supreme. In at 6, Roberta Mendez. Roberta Mendez on Earth 23291 was the wife of Alchemax operative 1940 and was forcibly exposed to the super soldier serum, transforming her into Captain America. Unaware of her dual identity, Roberta led Alchemax's Avengers. During an attack at her home by the Specialist, Roberta transformed into Captain America and defeated him, but couldn't prevent his self-death. The following day, Alchemax CEO Miguel Stone assigned the team to investigate Martin Hargood, suspected of hiring Specialist. They tracked Hargood to Latvian cuisine, where he argued with John Eisenhart, who revealed himself as the Hulk, and attacked the team when they refused to leave. The confrontation spilled outside, where they encountered the Hulk's allies, the Defenders. But yeah, this whole world is crazy. But yeah, there you go. That's Captain America for you. Roberta Mendez. Earth 20, just a lot of numbers. Halfway through into number 5, Captain Carter. I feel like you're all gonna know this one. Captain Margaret Elizabeth Peggy Carter was a distinguished Avenger and founding member of the Illuminati, the Marvel Illuminati, YouTube, relax. Playing a crucial role in the Infinity War of 2018, she fought valiantly against Thanos and aided in his defeat during the Battle of Titan. In the aftermath, when Doctor Strange utilized the Darkhold for dreamwalking, resulting in a threat of multiversal incursion, Carter, along with the Illuminati, voted in favor of executing him to safeguard the universe. In the years that followed, Carter found herself presiding over a hearing concerning an alternate version of Doctor Strange, who was apprehended by Baron Mordo on suspicions of posing a similar danger to the reality. Before the vote could be finalized and condemn this alternate Strange to death, their headquarters was attacked by the Scarlet Witch, who ended up killing Carter with her own shield and, pulled a science class and kind of just severed her torso from her legs. Yeah, very confusing considering how I'm pretty sure Cap has actually caught that multiple times, but I guess it wasn't being thrown by magic, so yeah. And at 4, Commander A. In an alternate future of Earth 1183-1, Commander A, a genetically enhanced version of Captain America named Kyoshi Morales, was called upon by the Contemplator alongside 4 other Captain Americas from different time periods. They were summoned because someone was erasing Captain Americas across the multiverse, a dangerous act that would unleash an entropic wave leading to the destruction of all realities. Commander A and his fellow Captain Americas were transported to the 21st century America, the time and place where the erasures were occurring, and together they confronted and fought against forces behind the erasing of Americas, facing off against the character known as Americommand, which is just lazy naming. Come on, Americommand? Dude, that's just the government. Getting close to the end at number 3, the Captain. Leaving a pineapple on his doorstep for Ted Mosby. Oh wait, sorry, wrong Captain, my bad. In the midst of the Battleworld conflict, Stephen engaged in a brutal confrontation with the Wolverine clan, ultimately emerging victorious. Arcade, however, taunted Stephen, provoking his wrath. In a swift act of retaliation, Stephen trapped Arcade within the formidable jaws of the Devil Dinosaur. However, his actions attracted the attention of God Emperor Doom and Sheriff Strange, who summoned him for judgment. If you can't tell, this world is kinda nuts. Stephen pleaded on behalf of Steve, revealing that in order to secure Bucky's freedom, Steve had been tasked with venturing into the Greenland domain and assassinating the Red King. Sent on this mission, Steve encountered ferocious monsters, but was saved from their onslaught by Hulk. It's a mess, okay? Basically, I'm pretty sure this one is just, I forget what age it was. I feel like it's a dinosaur one, okay? I think it is. Just read it. You really want to know? Because I can't explain it. It's so confusing. But ultimately, in at number 2, Vamp Cap. Steven Rogers of Earth 3931 was a member of the Avengers, but became a vampire during World War II after being infected by Baron Blood. This transformation granted him new powers, and he used this newfound ability to turn his fellow heroes into enslaved minions. Gotta love America. The Exiles, a team tasked with fixing alternate realities, encountered Rogers and faced a vampirized Sunfire who had been influenced by him. One by one, the Exiles team members were killed, and Rogers himself was decapitated by Mimic using Wolverine's claws. Despite this seemingly fatal blow, Rogers miraculously survived by reattaching his head to his body. Eventually, Sunfire was cured of her vampirism and retaliated, annihilating Rogers and the remnants of his team. But yeah, Vampire Captain. Oh my god. And finally, in at number 1, Captain America. Not even joking. Captain America has a remarkable ability to adapt to different realities within the multiverse, even in the more eccentric corners of it. Here we go. Take for instance the Earth of Spider-Ham, where Steve Rogers is a feline counterpart known as Steve Mouser or Captain America. While his escapades may possess a more lighthearted and whimsical tone compared to other versions of Cap because it's a freaking Earth of animals, in this alternate universe, he fearlessly protects his world with feline grace and is still a Captain America but as a cat. But he does have catnip craving villains, which is just the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever talked about. I've talked about a turtle who has a connection to the Speed Force, but Captain America as a goddamn cat? Man, no, okay? Cats are Red Skull. It's as simple as that. Cats are always trying to kill you. So I don't know why they made him a cat, but I guess it was for the pun. Captain Ameridog doesn't really roll off the tongue as well.